So it's end of day one at True London 5. I'm with the editor of HR Examiner, John Sumser, and John kicked off the day with a discussion with Bill Boorman and Laurie Reutemann and others on influence. And I just wanted to ask John, why is that something that we need to be thinking about?
So the big picture right now is that we're being buried in information. I don't know anybody who doesn't feel like they're falling behind and having things slip off the side of their desk. And so the question is, how do you figure out what's important to pay attention to? And the subject of influence and influencers is not the only way to get at that, but it's one of the interesting ways that you can figure out who you should be paying attention to in a specific subject area. So I've been doing experiments for about 3 years now, trying to figure out how do you measure influence, how do you see it, what affects it, and the idea is that over time, it's very early now, but over time we will start to be able to have tools that allow us to see in the areas that matter to us who's influential, so we can go and see at least what the most common ideas are.
And how would you see that playing out in the recruitment space?
Well, in recruiting, it's a really interesting thing. So if you want to recruit financial people in Des Moines, you're really interested in who the most influential financial people in Des Moines are. Not so much to hire them, but because the kinds of people who are influential as financial people in Des Moines know everybody in Des Moines. My guess is that there are maybe 500,000 people in Des Moines, and perhaps 20 or 25,000 of them are financial people. So if you knew the 25 most influential financial people in Des Moines, you would probably be well on your way to a network of half of the financial people in Des Moines, and that'd be pretty much a good solution for a recruiting problem.
And how about the fact that there would be many people who would be, prime influencers who might not be online yet?
We're in a transitional time. We're in a very transitional time. The truth is that you won't be influential if you're not online 5 years from now, right? So today you get an incomplete picture, but 5 years from now, if your business and your thoughts about your business and your network are not online, you're not influential.
And I think a final point, you ended the day on a track talking about technologies. Could you just give us your thoughts on what the next 12, 18 months look like?
So I've just finished this massive report called the 2012 Index of Social Technology in HR and Recruiting. And the thing that I noticed most is that none of the technology is actually very social. Mostly what we're doing with social technology is making great big piles of data. And so one of the things you're going to see are lots of tools that allow you to see people's CV and their LinkedIn profile and their Facebook stuff and all of their social graph all glommed into one big pile. And it's going to be impenetrable. And it's going to be hard to tell what's important to look at and what's important to leave alone. And that means that people will come back around over the next, probably closer to 12 months than early M, and start trying to figure out how to do actual social things. And the essence of social, it turns out, is that it's very local. And it's recruiting as a local phenomena is something that happens when people talk to each other. The heart of recruiting isn't really data. The heart of recruiting is people getting to know each other. And it's astonishing that in recruiting practice, in social technology, nobody's really figuring out how to do that yet. That'll be the next thing.
John Sumser, thanks very much.
Thanks very much.